Good evening, everyone. It's Rebecca with Red True Crime. So, let me set the stage for you. Imagine bringing your newborn home, only to discover years later they aren't yours. Or worse, burying what you believe is your child, then learning the hospital may have handed you the wrong one entirely. These aren't conspiracy theories. Um, they are real switched at birth horror stories buried in hospital records. So, today in 2026, one North Carolina mother, Lashunda Hunter, is still fighting for answers after a cascade of deadly errors made her question everything about the daughter she lost. Now, understand that, what I just said. Deadly mistakes, making her question everything she knew about the daughter that she lost. Now, we have what modern technology, like RFID tags and DNA testing, and all of this has made the true switches rare. But the human cost when they happen or when hospitals fail is utterly devastating. So, welcome to Red True Crime. I'm Rebecca, and this episode uncovers the full history of hospital baby switches, the most shocking documented cases, their emotional and legal fallout, and the ongoing Lashunda Hunter lawsuit that exposes deadly communication. I mean, not so much communication, but breakdowns in communication. Heavy stuff like infant loss, identity trauma, these type of things. And I'm going to tell you now, viewer discretion is advised. But if you're new here, subscribe, hit the bell, and we're going to dive in. So bear with me a moment and I'll be right back. Hi, everyone. So, switch at birth cases are statistically rare today, thanks to the protocols they've put in place. You get the matching wrist, ankle bracelets, bands, footprints, photos, electronic tagging, and RFID. But pre 1980s, reliance on paper tags and manual handling during bathing, weighing, or transfers led to mix ups. It really did. So, early documented incidents go back over a century. So in 1913 at Fordham Hospital, New York City, two boys were switched and discovered later through resemblances, but no major lawsuits details, nothing on that too much. But then we get into the great 1930 Great Chicago Baby Mix-Up. So in 1930 at Inglewood Hospital, two sons born hours apart switched in the nursery. Families noticed resemblances and rumors. A judge ruled the baby stayed with their raising parents to avoid trauma. But this case pushed early improvements in ID procedures. Now, most discoveries now come from physical differences like blood type mismatches or consumer DNA ancestry kits during that exploded in the 2000s. Many families never learn the truth. And when it's revealed, outcomes prioritize stability. Custody reversals after years of uncommon due to bonding. Courts often grant visitation or maintain status quo. Lawsuits focus on negligence, emotional distress, psychological harm, lost relationships slash opportunities, and settlements are common. But hospitals rarely, if ever, admit full fault. So total confirmed cases remain low and underreported. Some lead to unlikely friendships between biological and raising families. So, one of the earliest international cases was in 1953 at a San Ukai Hospital in Tokyo. A boy from a wealthy family was switched with another born 13 minutes apart. Now, this was discovered around 60 years later via DNA when the wealthy family noticed one son didn't resemble siblings. Now, the man raised in poverty, a truck driver, sued and won roughly $317,000 for mental distress and loss of educational chances. The other became a real estate executive. And then you get into South Africa in the 1990s, about 1995. Sons of Margaret Clinton Parker and Sandra Dawkins were switched. Now, families sued the government and won damages for expenses and visitation rights. One boy chose his biological mother at age 15, and the family stayed in contact. Then we get into France, 1994. Two girls switched at birth. DNA revealed the error. Families awarded nearly $2.6 million total for emotional harm. Now, they were born in 94, but the switch was not discovered until 2015. And then you've got Norway, 1965, at Eggbones Hospital. Two girls born a day apart switched, but discovered decades later in 2024. Now, the families allege a cover up when the hospital knew in their teens, now in their late 50s, and they and one mother are suing the state for human rights violations. Multiple similar unreported cases suspected at the same institution in the 1950s or the 1960s. Now we go into the UK, West Midlands NHS Hospital. Two girls switched. The first confirmed NHS case discovered in 2024 through or 2025. So this was in 1967 when they were born. Wasn't discovered till 2024, 2025 via ancestry DNA. NHS accepted liability. Families await compensation for that appalling error. But let's get into the one here in the US that's been like the most talked about. And that is the US case 1978 at Hardy Memorial Hospital, Wauchula, Florida. Kimberly Mays and Arlena Twigg. Barbara Mays birthed a girl with a severe heart defect on November 29th. Regina Twigg birthed a healthy girl on December 2nd. The healthy baby, biological Twigg, went home with Mays. The sick one, biological Mays, went with the Twiggs. Arlena died at age 9 in 1988 from the heart issues. Pre-surgery blood tests didn't match the Twiggs, and DNA confirmed a switch, and the media frenzy ensued. So the Twiggs sought visitation. Bob Mays fought back, and in 1993, 14-year-old Kimberly legally divorced her biological parents to block contact. She ran away at 15, briefly lived with the Twiggs, then left. Both families sued the hospital, multi-million-dollar settlements, no fault admitted. And a nurse later alleged a doctor ordered bands switched. Now, Kimberly struggled with marriages and custody issues, and in 2019 interviews, she expressed regret. Now, Bob Mays died in 2012. Strained relations continued, and this case inspired TV movies and highlighted long-term trauma. But now let's get to this more current case, and it's not so much a baby switched out, but still disastrous and libel nonetheless. Okay, so we're gonna fast forward to 2022 at Novant Health Presbyterian Medical Center in Charlotte, North Carolina. LaShunda Hunter fights exposes how communication failures can shatter lives even without a confirmed switch. Now, Hunter, who believed she was infertile, gave birth prematurely to a daughter named Legacy with complications. Elevated white blood cells, breathing issues, jaundice, these things happen with babies. But all three of my kids were jaundiced at birth. On February 19th, the hospital informed her Legacy had died. The next day, staff brought her a tightly wrapped baby, face partially visible, no tubes, identified as Legacy. Now, Hunter, friends, and family held the infant and began funeral arrangements in profound grief, which, what else would you do if you're being told your daughter is dead and you're handed a dead baby? Now, on February 22nd, so this is approximately 3 days later, Dr. Jay Kathadia, I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name, called with positive news. Legacy was improving and had turned around. Optimistic outlook. What? Your daughter is doing great. The blood work is showing improvement and she's turning it around. What? So, but an assistant noted the prior death notification. Now, the doctor abruptly hung up. Another physician, a Dr. Preeti something Indian I cannot pronounce, called back and said mistake. The results were for the wrong baby due to a chart telephone number error. Now, the hospital apologized but warned Hunter against visiting, threatening security or arrest. Now, you're going to call a woman and say, hey, your child died, and then call her back and say, I'm sorry, no, your child's alive and she's improving, to go back to, no, I'm sorry, we called the wrong person, wrong number, but don't come to the hospital and question these things or we'll have you arrested. Nonsense on my, no, that wouldn't stop me. So, chart inconsistencies emerged, including post death tube removal notes. Hunter's independent DNA test on the buried infant was inconclusive. The hospital's test claimed a match. Hunter now suffers severe PTSD, anxiety, depression, and intrusive thoughts that her real daughter may still be alive out there somewhere, and she questions if foul play or a cover up occurred. Which, when you had that kind of mistake where people call you and say, oh, your child's dead, oh no, your child's alive, oh no, of course you're going to question everything. So, Hunter filed a negligence lawsuit for emotional and financial distress. Now, the initial 2024 filing was voluntarily dismissed, but refiled in January/February of this year. At a press conference, she is quoted in saying, I just want my daughter. I want answers. The hospital stated it values patient trust, but couldn't comment on specifics due to privacy. Now, as of early 2026, the case remains ongoing. Now, this isn't a classic confirmed switch, but highlights deadly notification errors that fuel lifelong doubt. And I'm sorry, I don't blame the woman for questioning this. Um, like I said, I personally have not dealt with anything like that, but I understand how hospitals make mistakes. It does happen. Um, so for this poor woman who was under the impression she could not get pregnant, and then goes and does get pregnant and then has a child prematurely, and then the child, to be told the child has died is devastating just by itself. But then to get a phone call saying, "Oh, the baby's improved," and da 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 da. What? No, that should never happen. People need to make sure who the hell they're talking to. It's insane. So, across cases, hospitals face negligent suits for poor ID protocols, resulting in settlements for distress, lost opportunities, and relationship harm. Custody rarely flips after bonding, and visitation or status quo is common. Some families form bonds post discovery. If you can make that work, hey, all power to you. But prevention has improved dramatically. Electronic matching, double checks, parental involvement and tagging, but errors still occur, often revealed by DNA. Underreporting means we may never know the true scope, how often this actually happens. Outcomes vary: financial compensation, therapy needs, fractured identities. But for families like the Twigs/Mays or Hunter, closure remains elusive. So, from 1913 paper tag mix ups to the 2026 DNA revelations of trust in hospitals, these aren't just errors, they're stolen identities. And shattered grief and lifelong questions. I mean, I would have, there's no way, I don't know if I would ever trust what they actually told me ever again. Hospitals must prioritize ironclad protocols to prevent more tragedies. So, what do you guys think? Have you heard of these cases? Share your thoughts in the comments, and especially on the Hunter lawsuit. Does modern tech go far enough? I think it does, but human error is human error. So all the tech in the world can't solve that. So, but thank you for watching Red True Crime, and like, subscribe, and notifications on for more medical true crime deep dives. Stay safe out there, and you know, be aware and keep an eye out for the next one. So, this is Rebecca with Red True Crime. You all have a great night. Stay warm, and thank you again. Bye.